What some are calling a brazen globalist coup is taking place in the UK right now. Let me attempt to simplify the utter clusterfuck that we've seen unfold over the last few weeks. Now ex-Prime Minister Liz Truss, who had an approval rating of 9%, dared to introduce a mini-budget that slightly reduced taxes. For this, she was accused by the same globalists who subsequently took a wrecking ball to her government of pursuing a radical extremist right-wing agenda. Yeah, apparently cutting the top level of tax by 5%, reducing it to 2021 levels, is radical and extremist. They called it libertarian lunacy. Truss had committed the gravest of sins, spooking the financial elite and the bond markets. Oh no, not the bond markets. So the globalist establishment were perfectly fine with the Tories splurging £400 billion on COVID and furlough schemes, otherwise known as paying people to sit on their arse and do nothing. They were fine with £150 billion in energy bill subsidies. They were fine with untold billions sent to prolong a war 1,500 miles away. They were fine with sending another $25 billion down the NHS black hole. But cutting taxes by a tiny little bit? Oh no, we can't have that. Earlier today, Truss was forced to announce her resignation, making her the shortest serving PM in history. The Chancellor of the Exchequer, Kwasi Kwarteng, also fell on his sword, and he was replaced by Jeremy Hunt, whose name rhymes with what he is, which is a con. Now the media is calling Hunt Britain's de facto Prime Minister. Why should that concern us? Well, Hunt is a dyed-in-the-wool globalist, an arch anti-Brexit Remainer. He's also an authoritarian nightmare, who through his connections with his wife has ties to the Chinese Communist Party. Lest we forget, it was Hunt who during the early days of lockdown actually lobbied for children to be kidnapped from their own parents and held in quarantine camps.
Jeremy contacted me as a health minister and said, you've got to speak to Matt. It was at the time the Nightingale hospitals were being built. You've got to tell him that you
Matt Hancock.
Yeah, you don't put sick people in the hospitals. You follow a zero COVID policy. My wife's family have experience of this. When someone tests positive, you take them from their home and you take them to an isolation centre and you leave them there in the isolation centre. That's the only way you can beat COVID. And I said, Jeremy, the British public will not stand for mothers and fathers and families and children being removed from their family and their home and put in isolation. And he says, who said they won't? And I said, well, the Behaviour and Insights team who I've discussed this with, they won't wear it. And he said, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Show me the evidence for that, because I don't believe it. That's the way we have to deal with this, is a zero COVID policy. Now, we would still probably be in some sort of lockdown if Jeremy Hunt had been made Prime Minister.
Look at China today.
Instead of Boris Johnson.
Yeah, that's our new de facto Prime Minister. Suella Braverman, the Home Secretary, was also ousted yesterday. Braverman actually looked like she was set to follow through on a promise to get control over our Swiss cheese borders and reverse the current policy, which allows thousands of illegal migrants arriving every day on criminal people smuggler boats, a government taxi service on shore, free cash, and free taxpayer-funded hotel accommodation. Braverman was also working on putting an end to woke policing, reversing a system in which police claim they don't have the resources to investigate burglaries, and yet have plenty of resources when it comes to harassing and arresting Brits for mean things they posted on social media. Oh no, we can't have police dealing with actual crimes, can we? She was forced to resign because, get this, she sent an email that was supposed to be sent from a government account from her personal email account. Oh no, the horror! She's gone, she's out. Replaced by Grant Shapps, another elitist lackey. As Nigel Farage explained, everything points to a globalist coup.
Hunt now has total control of the country, and what you're witnessing, and I don't like using this language, because it puts me in the realms of the sort of conspiracy theorists. This is a globalist coup. You will see, bit by bit, the levers being kicked out of the cabinet, and Suella has committed two terrible sins. The first, she dared suggest that a trade deal with India should not involve open-door immigration. Yeah. But second, and far worse, far worse, we should leave the ECHR. That is not acceptable to the globalists in any way at all. They believe in open borders, they're not bothered about the English Channel or any of that stuff. And the excuse being given, or being briefed, She broke national security by sending a text to a mate on her personal mail. Forget it.
Now this same establishment is just going to select Liz Truss's replacement and the coup will be complete. Then the globalist wing of the Tories will resume the managed decline of the country before handing the reins of power over to Labour, who are almost certain to win the next election, and will then accelerate everything bad that the Tories did to a factor of about 100. And they call this democracy. We elected Boris to get Brexit done and restore freedom and prosperity. We ended up in lockdown, our economy ruined and a cost of living crisis, before Remainer globalists who want to reverse Brexit swept in to seize back control of the government completely.
Shat on by Tories, shovelled up by Labour.
Once again, it seems our only hope is Farage coming back to the fray to lead a Brexit Party 2.0. With this whole shit show now at least making the ground fertile for a real third party that can finally threaten to give this con lab con game a good pasting at the polls.